Hello everyone, it's Jeff here at the Systems Lab. Got some exciting news and I want to give you a sneak peek preview of some new features, some new functionality that we're about to bring out to all of our silver and gold subscribers. So this is all about position sizing today. We're adding some position sizing models and I want to show you how that's going to work. And so for silver and gold, what that means is that this will work in both the backtest versions of PRX like we often use here, but it'll also work going forward with PRX automation. So you can just implement these strategies going forward as well, which is awesome. So let me just show you what we got here. This is a flavor of PRX, an intraday flavor that's performing pretty well, and it's also down configured currently for how we usually do these, which is $1,000 risk per trade. And the reason why we tend to do that is because it's a really nice way of simply finding out what the R multiple is. So this, of course, is about 41R in P&L, and then the drawdown here is about 8.7. And then we can see the percentage, that relates to that, which is very similar because we're using a $100,000 account setting with $1,000 risk per trade. So 1% sort of, and we'll get into that in a second. So let's just open up the settings here and I'll show you what I mean. I'll double click on my dashboard or open up the settings whichever way you want. And this is the bit that I want to show you just here, this line. So here we've got position size and we've got two different parameters that we can manipulate. So we've got a model that we need to select, and then we've got a value that's associated with that model. So by default, and I'll just hit the drop down here, we are configured for $1,000 of fixed amount of currency. So the model is how much fixed amount of currency do we want to risk, and then we want to say $1,000, 1,000 of those. So this is the usual way that we've always kind of used PRX, and this is the way that it defaults still. So when you just add it to a chart, it'll do what it normally does. Now we've also got these settings down here though. So we've now got the percent account equity. So this is the classic, and if you guys came from the Van Tharp world, it was a popular choice. So let's say that we wanted to risk 1% of the account instead. Then what we can do is just select percent account equity here and then change the value to 1, and that would be 1%. And the difference here, of course, is that the amount of risk per trade will fluctuate depending on the equity in the account. So as the equity grows in this instance, then we start to risk a little bit more capital on each account, and it can compound that bit more. And then also it goes the other way, so it will flex lower, smaller in size, if the system isn't performing for a period. So that's a nice way of doing that rather than just having a fixed $1,000 for every single trade. Okay, let me just hit the next one here in the list and describe it, and then I'll show you one or two of these. Constant notional value basically means how much money do I want to put into the trade for every single trade. So rather than sort of flexing the amount of money that's actually used, the amount of capital used by using one of these two models here I could say just for every single buy signal, buy me $10,000 worth of GBTC in this case. And then when I get a sell signal, it just goes back to flat and we're back in cash. And then for the next one, we do 10,000. So it's just 10,000 every single time. Now that's nice for some models. And it also actually really kind of smooths out some of the volatility that we get sometimes as well. And now the step up from that, or a slightly nicer way of doing things sometimes, is similar to what we're doing before, where this is just the percent account notional value. So rather than giving it a fixed amount of dollars, this is like how much of the account in percentage do we want to place on every trade. So if I wanted to do that 10,000-ish again, I could just say 10%, or I could say 50% or 100% of the account. So let me just show you quickly about how some of this works. So I'm going to change this one here from a fixed amount of currency to a 1%. So I change that to percent, and now I'm going to change this to 1. Okay, and now hopefully you guys can see this, is a subtle change. So the percentage terms have stayed relatively similar. The drawdown size has gone up a little bit here to almost 12,000, but the P&L has also increased. So with the 1%, we're actually getting larger and larger sizes as the account capital is growing here. Now we can also just take this and jack this right up to 2% by just increasing it to 2, or we can make this 2.5 or 2.13. So it's very flexible if you want to just change whatever it is that you've come up with from your own Monte Carlo simulations for whatever size that you think that is optimal for you to be running this. And you'll see as we go to 2, now the drawdown has increased in both percentage and in sort of dollar terms, but the P&L is also increased even more so. So now we're getting that extra boost from that extra sizing, right? So let me just show you one more while we're here, the constant notional value. So if I click on constant notional and then I set this value to say, well, let's just look at 10,000 like I was suggesting earlier. Ooh, 10,001 it looks like we got. And now you can see that the equity curve actually changes a bit. It smooths out. And these numbers are obviously far lower because we're only using 10,000. But I could also say something like 100,000, which would be similar to using, the total the total account size that we were doing before. And did I not get that? We need one more zero in there, right? Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. So now you can see that, if I just, for every trade, if I use my $100,000, and let's just say that maybe the account starts at 100,000, then my drawdown is actually very low, and my P&L is not as high as we were looking before, but in terms of the drawdown, it's actually pretty nice, and the equity curve smooths out. So a couple of models here. I just wanted to run through these quickly. A bunch more is going to be coming out to describe how to use these things. And you guys are going to get hold of this very soon. So stay tuned for that and have a great rest of your day, everybody. Talk to you soon. Cheers.